preliminary hearings have finally started in the case of the murder of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, allegedly by artist David. It took us a long time to get here based on the overwhelming amount of evidence that we had before they even arrested him. But here we are, and I got you all the way through. That's right, I'm your boy Unico Williams with Do You Hear Me with Unico Williams, the main show. And by the end of this thing, we're going to be able to put it all together and understand what's going on with this case. So, as we all know, if anybody follows anything on social media, because honestly, before this even happened, I didn't even know who David was, but that is what that is. That's neither here nor there. This is something that happened, a real life thing that happened. So, obviously, a very young girl was found in the back, or the frunk of a Tesla, and it turned out to be 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. So my homegirl, Taylor Parise and Lauren Conlon, they're going to help me with this, just like they helped with the P. Diddy trial. So here we have artist David Anthony Burke. Last name Burke. They're going to say Burke a lot of here. I'm just going to call him David so we don't forget. So here's how the scene started. He's in the courtroom looking like game over, man. So that's how he's looking, but doesn't look, not showing much emotion, but that is what that is. You know how that goes. So let's start with the case and what David is actually, now remember, this is a preliminary trial, preliminary hearings. So this is to say if they have enough evidence to say, let's go to trial. So let's go there. That's what this is. So David, who's now 21 in 2026, keep that in mind. These dates are very important. He's pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder, lewd acts upon a child under the age of 14, and unlawful mutilation of human remains. Gruesome stuff. Prosecutors allege Celeste was killed, dismembered, and placed inside the frunk, or the front trunk, of Burke's Tesla, where her remains were discovered at a Hollywood Towyard in September of 2025. They were discovered there in 2025, basically a year ago. They have also alleged a special circumstance that Burke killed the teen to prevent her from reporting alleged SA. Y'all know what that means. If he's convicted of the first-degree murder with that special circumstance, David could face the death penalty. That's a real thing, and that's a child, and that was gruesome, and there's a lot of bad things. Ain't no proponent of nobody dying and nothing like that, but you know how that go. Inside the courtroom, David appeared without handcuffs because the judge granted the defense request to remove them for the hearing, allowing him to take notes, drink water more easily. So they gave him that concession, but he still had that chain around his waist now. So he appeared calm, stoic, all that. And as crime scene photos depicting Celeste's remains were displayed on courtroom monitors, a lot of reporters actually looked away, but David, he kept looking at it throughout the presentation. Maybe going down memory lane, back down memory lane. So the prosecution's first witness, they called in LA County Sheriff Senior Deputy Juan Gonzalez, and he testified that he conducted a welfare check at David's West Hollywood home on February 17th of 2024. Don't forget, they found her 2025, September last year. But they checked him out February 17, 2024, after Riverside County investigators reported her missing. The detective told, or the deputy, whatever, he told the court, David said he met Celeste through social media and Discord and believed she was 18 years old because she told me she was 18. And voluntarily showed deputies a 6th grade yearbook photo of the teen. Why would you have that? Along with a missing person flyer. Why would you have that? But also consented to a search of his home. So that's kind of, right there is already weird in itself, that he already has this stuff. And also another thing to note here too is that the welfare check. Who called in the welfare check, and why did they know to go over to his house specifically? It's a lot of details in here that we got to keep note of. All right. So the defense press that David told the truth to investigators initially. However, during redirect, the assistant district attorney, Beth Silverman, asked point blank if David shared anything about his sexual relationship with the victim. This was met with a sustained objection. So they said, his defense said objection, and the judge sustained it. Said sustained. Then the hearing took a far more graphic turn with testimony from LAPD robbery homicide detective Joshua Byers, who described responding to a Hollywood Towyard on September 8th, 2025, as we said earlier, after employees reported a strong odor coming from Burke's impounded Tesla. The detective testified that they obtained a search warrant and discovered a partially unzipped black body bag inside the vehicle's front trunk that contained dismembered human remains. He also detailed the numerous search warrants obtained after investigators confirmed that Tesla was registered to David. Now, among the evidence presented was iCloud data that, according to David, according to the detective, showed David's iPhone 16 Pro Max, previously connected to the Tesla, last disconnected from the vehicle on July 29th, 2025. So keep all that together. July 29th, 2025 is the last time it disconnected, and they found her September of 2025, right? Keep that in mind. The detective testified that Celeste's father, Jesus Rivas, contacted the LAPD after seeing media coverage of the body found inside of Tesla's front trunk, fearing it was his daughter. Rivas provided investigators with the name of Celeste Dennis, whose records ultimately helped them identify her remains. He also told detectives that Celeste had 2 known cell phone numbers, as well as a third phone that had allegedly been purchased for her by an unidentified male. So what this leads me to believe is, remember, they had that welfare check, right? They had the welfare check, and they sent him to his house, right? So out the gate, he's looking at, okay, found the body. My child's been missing. It's in this nice Tesla, blah, blah, blah. Automatically was like, oh, it was the guy that we had you go to the welfare check with, is what I'm thinking. But the thing is, with her being at the age that she was at, y'all knew about this? Y'all knew where your daughter was going? There's a lot of stuff that we get. This might not be the only trial that we got to look at in the near future. So the detective later walked the court through a series of digital records recovered during an investigation, including data obtained through search warrants served on Apple, Tesla, and other companies. The detective testified investigators analyzed several terabytes of iCloud data using Cellbrite software, allowing them to filter emails, connected devices, photographs, and other digital artifacts. One iPhone associated with the iCloud account fallout0012@gmail.com was identified by the device name Tranquilizer and was shown as having connected to Burke's Tesla. Tesla navigation records introduced in court showed trips and charging activity tied to locations including Santa Barbara, Lake Cucamonga, Cachuma, and the Santa Ynez Valley in May 2025. Prosecutors also presented surveillance footage from July 29, 2025, which the detective said showed David's black Tesla traveling on Doheny Drive before David was later seen on camera walking back towards the residence. Additional evidence included photographs of David's Tesla taken months earlier after a neighbor reported it had been sitting unmoved, as well as testimony about the investigation that followed the discovery of human remains inside the vehicle. The detective testified that after Celeste was identified, investigators executed a search warrant at David's Doheny Place residence on September 17, 2025. Jurors were shown photographs of the home, including the garage where detectives found a red Tesla registered to David's manager and personal assistant. His name is Robert Morganroth. He's going to come up in this a lot. Investigators also recovered a light blue iPhone 15 that the detective said belonged to David based on selfies, credit cards, and other personal information stored on the device. Behind the piano, the detectives found an unopened Amazon package containing what Byers described as a small burn cage or mini crematorium marketed for burning documents and yard debris. Interesting. Interesting. Keep that in mind. Man's is ordering stuff off the internet. And prosecutors also introduced Amazon purchase records that the detective testified linked the item to David. Detectives seized a desktop computer and later obtained records from Apple, AT&T, Uber, Tesla, Home Depot, Amazon, and Postmates. That's part of the investigation. Also, according to Byers' testimony, investigators recovered records showing airline tickets purchased for both David and Celeste on trips from Los Angeles to Texas and from Los Angeles to London. Keep that in mind. Somebody might have said that I only seen that girl one time, but taking trip, man, that's an expensive trip. Going to London from LA, that's expensive. 2 people? So all that happened during the midday break on day 1 of David's preliminary hearing. David came back in the courtroom. He's still chilling, relaxed, whispering to his lawyer, all that type of stuff. So Detective Byers walked the court through a timeline of purchases allegedly linked to Burke or David in months after Celeste's death. According to Byers, investigators traced records showing a shovel was purchased from Home Depot on April 24th of 2025, followed by multiple chainsaws bought through Amazon and Home Depot in early May. Prosecutors also introduced records for an inflatable pool, a cadaver body bag labeled City Morgue, and a heavy-duty laundry bag, all delivered to David's crib during the same time period. So you're getting chainsaws, basically murder 101 get delivered to the crib. Crazy. And there's a digital footprint of it as well. What a dummy. What a dummy. So also they had the burn cage and a fireproof mat that was purchased July 2025. Many of the Amazon orders, the detective testified, were placed using an account associated with Travion D email address, while several other purchases were traced through Uber Postmates records. Investigators later recovered 2 of the Amazon purchased chainsaws during a search of David's home. So they recovered these. What a dummy. What a dummy. So based on the timeline of items ordered and or purchased, one could potentially speculate that there may have been a change in plans regarding how the body would be allegedly disposed of. The detective also described David's April 16th, 2026 arrest when they actually decided to arrest him. Now, mind you, they found this girl almost a year ago, and it took them until this past spring to actually arrest him after, like I said, the court of public opinion, the court of Twitter, the court of X, court of Facebook, all already had him indicted. But said that during that arrest, they documented several tattoos during the booking process, including one bearing Celeste's name, what a dummy, in red ink on his ring finger, as well as a tattoo on his right index finger. The tattoo of Celeste was a faint red ink, and law enforcement had not previously identified this tattoo. So I don't know if this is a new one. He's like, hey, when I go down, I want you tatted on me. We don't know. During cross-examination, the defense attorney zeroed in on how investigators handle certain pieces of evidence, questioning whether some items were properly preserved or thoroughly tested. Mind you, David is trying to make sure that David's attorneys are trying to keep him from actually going to trial. So keep that in mind. So the attorney first focused on the black cadaver bag in which Celeste remains were found, asking why the bag itself wasn't kept as evidence. The detective testified that after consulting with a supervisor and criminalist, investigators decided the advanced decomposition in bodily fluids made it impractical to preserve the entire bag. Instead, detectives removed and kept only certain parts of it, including the zipper and the handles, for forensic testing. The detective acknowledged the rest of the bag was not fingerprinted, swabbed, or otherwise tested. I mean, it sounds like they got what they needed to conduct their investigation. They probably didn't need that whole bag. And then They asked the detective about the burn cage found inside of David's home. The detective testified he saw the unopened box near a piano on the second floor and that it was photographed during the search. However, he acknowledged the box was neither tested for biological evidence nor collected as evidence during the September 17, 2025 search. So that's weird. But cause for pause, but you ain't out the water, still looking, still quacking, so it must be a duck. The defense also pressed the detective about 3 chainsaws recovered from David's home, 2 in the garage and 1 on the second floor. The detective testified all 3 were tested for blood and each came back negative. When they asked whether investigators conducted DNA testing or compared the saws to the cut marks on the victim's remains, he said that he did not recall any DNA testing and testified investigators did not pursue additional forensic testing after no blood was found on the tools. So they must have thought like he just like chainsaws. I don't know, but they didn't see any. So well, yeah, no blood was on it, so like everything's fine. So the defense attorney also challenged investigators' claim that a light blue iPhone 15 Pro Max, recovered from David's home belonged to him. During direct examination, the detective had testified the phone belonged to David based on information recovered from the device, including selfies and personal items. On cross-examination, however, the detective pointed to a search warrant affidavit related to Celeste Rivas Hernandez iCloud account and email addresses, including AbigailBlue977 at iCloud.com, and questioned whether investigators had previously linked the light blue phone to Celeste instead. When they asked the detective about the warrant, he initially said he did not recall the specific language he used until he reviewed the document after reading it. The detective testified the affidavit referred to the email account belonging to Celeste, not ownership of the phone itself. The exchange became a little heated, with the assistant DA objecting that the lawyer was being argumentative. The defense responded that she believed the people would eventually attribute the phone and its contents to David. So the judge then instructed counsel to just move on. It's possible they're referring to the alleged CSAM material previously found on what is believed to be David's phone. So that's another caveat here. There is some CSAM. Look it up. I can't say it on here, but they did find that on his phone. Terabytes of it, allegedly. Prosecutors also called former Mobile Vision finance director Benjamin Greger, who had a lawyer, who testified about Burke's finances or David's finances and the rise of his music career. Greger, who previously handled day-to-day financial management for David's businesses, told the court that the singer earned an estimated $10 million to $11 million in gross income between 2023 and 2025. A lot of money to be running around with a 11 or 13-year-old, but I don't know. That's crazy stuff, man. Including a $600,000 signing payment from Interscope Records and roughly $2.4 million during the first year after signing with the label. Greger testified Burke also operated multiple business entities, including a publishing company and merchandise business that received multi-million-dollar advances. Silverman appeared to introduce the testimony as part of their effort to establish the high financial stakes surrounding Burke's career before Celeste Rivas Hernandez's death. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. That's a big detail there, because what caused this whole murder in the first place. And then also keep that tie there with the CSAM found too. Keep that in mind. Now, Greger further testified that after Celeste remains were recovered in Burke's Tesla, David's Tesla, communication with David's management team, including John Marshall, manager Robert Morgenroth, and David's mother, Colleen Burke, sometimes moved to encrypted messaging apps such as Signal and WhatsApp. Greger said using the encrypted platforms was not his decision and testified it was requested by others. Greger also claimed he still works with David's mother, Colleen, and is on a $7,500 monthly retainer in hopes of finding a new entertainment lawyer for the embattled singer. The statement seemed curious as the singer is incarcerated and facing murder charges. So Greger further testified that after Celeste remains were discovered in David's Tesla, communications with David's management team, which is his mom and manager, sometimes moved to encrypted messaging apps such as Signal and WhatsApp. Greger said using encrypted platforms was not his decision and testified it was requested by others. He claimed he still works with David's mom, Colleen, and is on $7,500 monthly retainer in hopes of finding a new entertainment lawyer for the embattled singer. The statement seemed curious, as the singer is incarcerated and facing murder charges. How do y'all don't got the lawyer yet? That's interesting. Beth Silverman also questioned Greger about Burke's finances after his arrest. Greger testified David had a trust account with Morgan Stanley valued at roughly $2 million and said he discussed helping David's mother, Colleen, move money that could potentially be used for bail. He also testified one of David's homes was intended to be used as collateral for a bond, while another was not. Silverman then questioned Greger about previous grand jury testimony regarding whether he advised Colleen to transfer ownership of David's homes into her name. Greger testified he suggested the transfer because one of the properties was a family home. When prosecutors asked whether he had previously said the move was intended to protect the properties from potential civil claims by Celeste's family, Greger said he did not recall making that statement or preparing any transfer documents. He did acknowledge providing Colleen Burke with the name of someone who could assist with transferring the titles. On cross-examination, the defense attorney first moved focus away from David's finances and towards how the business was managed. So through Greger, Bednarski established that David entered the music industry with little experience after first gaining popularity as a gamer. Greger testified that David's day-to-day affairs were primarily handled by his manager, Robert Morgenroth, who was employed through Mogul Vision, while David's mom was Greger's main point of contact for any financial matters. Greger acknowledged he had little direct communication with David himself regarding bills, expenses, or other routine financial decisions, communicated with his mom instead. So that's how they adjourned. So that's how they adjourned day one of the preliminary hearing in the murder trial or preliminary hearing for the murder case of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, allegedly committed by artist David. So please make sure that you like and subscribe if you like what you're seeing. Please make sure that if you want to keep up with all this, I'm going to be right here. And we're going to go through this until we get to the end of the road of this. So it could be over at the preliminary hearings. They might say that, hey, David, we don't have enough evidence that it was him. Or we go to trial, and I'm with you every step of the way. That being said, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Do You Hear Me? We need to go with it. Holla. Thanks for watching. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms. Don't forget, every Thursday, the full podcast is on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and mama, I'm on Spotify. Overall 99 ENT bring you videos from Friday all the way to Friday. So be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate it. Again, thank you so much. Holla.